This is Denmark, the real superpower of Scandinavia, with several major settlements spread across Kattegat. All this is owned and ruled by the one and only king, Valdemar. Not Vladimir or Valdemar, as many might think it is pronounced, Valdemar. He and his king's guard, which is reasonably well equipped, are the first line of defense. But defending a land such as this can be quite confusing, especially when the mappers have established the wrong names for the wrong locations. Sure, they are proper names of different cities of Denmark, but it will hurt my brain not changing them. Thus, we changed the name of our northernmost town to Toxborg, the birthplace of legends, and thus also what should be the rightful capital of Denmark. The only major downside to this is we are now closer to the devious and treacherous Swedes. Pah! Just saying their name hurts my soul. Due to our recent history, which I won't go into details about, we had agreed to a non-aggression pact with them. However, we never forget their aggressive tendencies. Besides, they're not pure Catholics like us. The Pope himself has granted us permission. Serve justice upon them. Sadly, this ploy was a scheme disguised from the rest of our neighbors, painting us in a bad light for the next upcoming years. Therefore, we weren't able to sign any trade deals with other nations of our religion. Yet we had to proceed with our first task of this campaign: strike down the infidels on the other side of Kattegat. King Valdemar marched to the border where he had decreed all capable fighters were to rally to his side. For the most part, that only counted for Bundir, meaning farmers. Anything better is miles off. Well, apart from our southern retinues, from Hamburg and Stralsund. Having such a crucial location such as Hamburg, it had to be fortified, with even the church establishing a training facility for their holy knights. It was an expensive endeavor, but a required one at that, as our expedition into Sweden will undoubtedly lead to high casualties. Oh, and for the ones calling it heresy to name our armies in honor of the Norse gods, all I can say to you is you have no understanding of our Danish ways. We proudly celebrate our majestic history and ancient culture compared to the Swedes who does it out of hatred for Christ. Yeah, definitely not propaganda at all. With regards to our governors, we assigned them to the most important locations of our realm, in places where we both might see combat and still need a flourishing population. In terms of edicts, we only had one thing in mind: growth and commerce, as this supreme army takes a heavy toll on our earnings. Oh, and as we changed our capital from Roskilde to Aalborg, I saw it fit to shine some light on another less important settlement that really could use some love: Copenhagen. But as mentioned, these armies are quite expensive, especially the commanders. So we decided to combine our two southern armies into one, giving us access to over 300 more gold. For us, our main downside from setting the rallying point to the border was, whenever winter came around, we had to be extra careful not to suffer unnecessary losses, just like the Honor of Thor did on its march from Hamburg to Copenhagen. The following summer we received news of two neighboring nations and true Catholics had declared war upon each other. The French and the English, that is. Let's hope none of the parties will hold a grudge and continue to fight in multiple wars for centuries to come. Or perhaps it is the work of the Pope playing with the pawns like we are in Scandinavia. It doesn't matter, as the King's Guard was filled up, meaning we could finally push into hostile territory and raid their smaller villages. We didn't really have to fear for the Swedes to sally out, for two reasons. One was due to Thor's army arriving to the front line too. But the second and more obvious reason is that the Swedes both understand and fear our military might is superior to theirs in every single way. We waited for almost a year raiding the countryside, showing how weak of a king this self-proclaimed ruler Eric really is. It was time. We besieged the capital and prepared our siege crafts for an assault. As time passed by, our newly appointed governors improved their administration skills. It was especially noticeable in the form of their thinking and bureaucratic knowledge. Progress such as this is crucial for our tax rates, which ensures our national security is of high quality. With our current enlistment into the service of the Christian faith, we also found a need for a priest to convert the remaining pagans still living in Sweden, which is a lot, I might add. It was also around this time our puppet state from the Duchy of Pomerania asked for our military support against the Jovingrians to the far east. We weren't opposed to the fact of us participating in such a war due to their unorthodox ways, but we aren't currently in a position to answer the call, thus making our answer no. It was until we discovered the Swedes were preparing to use their cunning tactics to sail down the coast and hit our position from two fronts. We were truly blessed by the Lord for this revelation, because now was clearly the time to strike. Due to the limits of movement for the camera in Total War Attila, we're gonna take a slightly more overview-esque kind of approach to this battle. King Valdemar placed the vast majority of his forces on the longest stretch of the walls. A tiny portion was placed on the left to prepare for a warm welcoming gift to the Swedes returning to the shore. Furthermore, they will be met by our second army, which is traversing through the dense snow to support in this battle. As our siege engines reached the walls, the real battle began. We faced the fierce defenders with courage and strength, which slowly allowed us to grind our way through. On the frozen beaches, however, our heavy cavalry made their way down to slam our enemies straight into the snow head first. Thanks to the inspiring presence of the King of Denmark himself, we secured the beaches. And to forget this meant our breaches were secured, allowing us to slowly raise our proud 3 lions in the new city. We lost almost 2,000 men to this assault, well worth the cost as we have ridden the world of a plague before it was able to spread. For a second we debated to raze this land entirely. However, we saw the use of a powerful harbor where we might be able to perform some fascinating things. Yet we did want to make a few changes of our own, thus renaming the settlement to Göteborg. The north is saved. This expansion allowed us to employ more governors for our southern towns. Here we continued our focus on growth and income. To our pleasure, Göteborg also allowed for us to muster way more skilled fighters, something we will be happy for in the future. Sadly, in an act of irony, His Holiness the Pope died not long after us completing his goal. It led to the election of a new man called Honorius III. You all know the reason why they chose him.
The Holy Bible may preach peace, but when it is Christendom itself that is threatened, then it is every Christian's duty to defend all that is holy. His Holiness the Pope has called a crusade to reclaim the Holy Lands from the infidel, who would deny Christian pilgrims their right to visit the holy places. It is time for the armies of Christendom to put aside their differences and unite under one banner, the sign of the cross, and give back God's children what is rightfully theirs, or die trying.
The only downside to this crusade was the fact that it was so damn far away. No way we can reach Cairo in time. Besides, the overall control Valdemar holds over his realm is decreasing rapidly. We are taking measures to change that, but it will take time. It is probably due to the plague that is spreading in our lands. These sure feel like the Dark Ages. On the positive side, our economy is not all that bad, everything considered. In the meantime, we prepare to join our client states in their own crusade against the infidels of Eastern Europe. The king has reached Hamburg, where the holy barracks have been constructed, for us to acquire elite cavalry. However, there is an easier way to muster such units. By participating in the crusade, we were able to get our own Templar knights to assist us in our war. Not too many, as our economy couldn't sustain more than 6 units. We eventually decided to give all our elite and well-supplied units to the king, who then would set sail for Gdansk. Back up in Göteborg, we had demolished one of the old sites, meaning we now had space to construct whatever we wanted. Looking out for the future, we prepared the land for farmland. With enough cattle, it will not only just help us with our provisions, but also in terms of our income. You see, we're kinda big brain here, I think. Our new pope has already caused many changes to this world we live in. Not only are we on our way towards another crusade, but now the kingdom of Sicily has been excommunicated. Who knows what they have done? Perhaps took in Swedish refugees. Down in Stralsund, our plans of expansion came into fruition too. Down here, however, we will take a more traditional approach, constructing a watermill, so we have a more exotic catalog of merchandise to sell, while also improving our growth and wealth from industry. This plan allowed us to start trading with the commune of Bologna, creating a massive trade route on the outskirts of Europe. It is a voyage we haven't made since the Viking days. Next time, we will begin our crusade in the eastern part of Europe.